about day 6 with ZENA, and yesterday we hit 60,000 market cap, and there was a pullback, so people took some profits, which that's going to happen. It's understandable. You see some of the main bigger wallets and stuff like that have not sold any. That's kind of the more important part, and a lot of people don't know all the pieces to the equation, how big ZENA is. And in a lot of ways, I can't talk about it. I'm just going to laugh about it when all the dots connect, so to speak. So, and again, you guys have been following me for a while. There's multiple reasons why I never launched a project previously. For one, the blockchains have to be capable of supporting it. And then secondly, if you're going to launch a project, and maybe you're thinking about launching your own, you're going to have a big enough following and enough people sort of surrounding it, and you're going to have to drive value to it some way, shape, or form. Now, you might say, well, that's, what about this project or that project or this one? I studied a lot of these different memes, and have there been some memes that I was sort of surprised they got as big as they did and that people sort of got behind it? Yeah, absolutely. I certainly have. With Doge, that made sense of why that pumped. And then let's say with something like Sheeb, it was essentially kind of a knockoff Doge, but then that community actually changed the game as far as bringing utility by creating the Shibarium ecosystem. So it actually kind of became a layer 1 and sort of extracted itself from from Ethereum. So I've kind of tracked some of these sort of over time, and then stuff like Flog, there was a lot of consistency with the way they posted, the way the art was, and the way they posted. So I could kind of foresee, and there were several different criteria and stuff that all kind of equate to when you feel like something is going to go, or that it has all the pieces of the equation, that the community is going to get behind it, or it has all the elements that it's going to need. So as far with ZENA, my main thing, so just a day ago, I have started to onboard the majority of the baseball related following from Instagram. So that's like, Dogecoin baseball and Liberation baseball. So there's a lot of professional baseball players over there that are seeing this, and managers and stuff like that. So that just happened a day ago. And some of them, they've maybe never been off the exchanges. They've maybe held some crypto. They've never been off the exchanges. They don't know about DeFi. So that's a lot of like answering their questions and sort of how to move and stuff like that. And I've had several people say, you should make a video and everything of, how people can buy ZENA. And I am going to do that, but it's almost going to have to be this more in-depth kind of explanation, because it depends where people are starting from. It's like, do they already have crypto? Do they have a Coinbase account? If they've never gotten crypto, there's a couple ways you can buy with credit cards, do stuff like MoonPay, and instantly get the stuff. So I'm going to have to explain that and explain some of these various different routes in. But I've known people that have been in crypto for 4 or 5 years, never left the exchanges. That's kind of somewhat common, I guess. And then you have kind of this whole other population of people just going wild on DeFi. And, if you look at the DEX screener and all that for something like ZENA, it might not actually, at this current time, fit the profile of most of the projects you would invest in. But in a lot of ways, right now, as we speak, ZENA is more of my credibility from the last 11 years in crypto. That it's more of a community token in that sense, here initially, because we're onboarding the original following from Steam, Blurt, and Hive. And don't forget, I got on Steam in July of 2016, and a lot of people have left Steam, Hive, Blur, all that kind of stuff. They've sort of left that a long time ago. I've always stayed consistent. I always continue to post. And I wasn't blowing people's feet up with just, You know what I mean? Like, there's this token and this token. I created this one, and this is the 15th token I've created, or something like that. No, this is the first token that I've created that wasn't for like sort of a third-party client that I was helping them create a token for their project. This is the first one that I've created, that I'm behind, that I'm pushing, and there's many pieces to the equation is really all I can kind of say right now, because again, where these guys, and I've studied a lot of these guys, Richard Hart, I've studied the launch of BitShares, Steemit, EOS, and the projects that Dan Larimer was involved in, and how they went about that, and what to do and what not to do. What to do to not run afoul of securities laws or potential securities laws. So if you go way back to BitShares, they launched ProtoShares, which was essentially a proof of work mining. And then for the ProtoShares, they swapped it out for the BitShares essentially. And even with Steemit, every so many blocks for the Steem blockchain was a proof of work system. Now we could say that it was unfair in this way or that way or whatever, but that's what they did. They tried to do a proof of work mining system to kind of establish sort of the initial supply, or to try to distribute some of the initial supply and not run afoul of security laws. Where Richard Hart ran into problems launching Hex was really the sacrifice. Now, I agree with Richard Hart, and I do hope that he beats the SEC. And I think, a lot of things are changing and stuff like that, but you have to be very careful that you're not sort of making some future promise that something isn't there. ZENA is out there. ZENA can be bought on Radium, and that's that. Everything's meme from here on out, and anything that kind of happens is just something that happens. I'm not making a future promise, none of that. So you have to be very careful with the wording, understand that. And I had some people, I don't want to get rug pulled. You're not going to be seeing me rug pull. Why would I rug pull something, when it's just like, it's honestly, it's like my credibility in the crypto space from the last 11 years plus, and then people that I know from prior to me getting in crypto. And then on top of that, it's my credibility in the minor league, basically the independent minor league baseball scene. That's my credibility there. So we've done a lot of cool things. It's hard to sit there and, list out all these things and stuff like that. But, don't forget that in 2020, when the scamdemic was going on, all of affiliated minor league was not able to play. And we had the Liberation League. We weren't dealing with that. We still continued to play. Guys got their stats, and that actually aided them to get other contracts in the leagues in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. So that ended up being a make or break for a lot of guys, where a lot of guys hung them up. So don't ever forget that. We actually played in 2020 while everybody else was dealing with this fake pandemic. We played. And then we've played every year since then, and we've had some really big victories. We have played the Lancaster Barnstormers twice, full game. There was one game that got rained out in the first, and it was 1-1. But the two times that we've got full games in, we've won. And they've been the champions of the Atlantic League, and 50% of those guys have big league service time. So this is no small feat, some of the stuff that we've done. And those guys, a lot of those guys just found out about ZENA essentially 24 hours ago, and they're figuring out how to get in, how to get Solana, how to get over there and stuff like that. So I'm helping those guys. So understand that. And then after all that kind of occurs, Sunday is going to be a big day. Today's Saturday. Sunday's going to be a big day. And you see some of these other chains pumping. You see ICP pumping. You see some of this other stuff is breaking loose. Dogecoin is breaking loose. It was hovering around that 39-40 cents. Now it's breaking loose, and it was like up at 43 cents. So understand that there's a lot of pieces to the equation going on. People are getting onboarded, this and that. You don't see this thing. Most of these things have a time horizon of 8 hours, 12 hours, and then they've dumped, and some of the main kind of like initial wallets have dumped out of it. That's not the case with ZENA. So once people ultimately end up realizing that, whether it's, you know, in a few days or a week or 2 weeks, this thing keeps building, then we're talking about a totally kind of different situation, because then it enters the realm where some of the people that maybe kind of faded it initially, they do start to realize this is different, and there are more pieces to this, and as more and more things go out, you know, this whole thing can build upon itself. I literally don't know why I'm turning on my turn signal. I'm in a parking lot. But anyway, trying to do more than one thing, guys. Anyway, follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, at Twitter, Hive, YouTube, Blur, everywhere.